Hello, Mr. Bertolio. Michael Paul. It's probably going to be better for me if I just go ahead and give you the audio recording of it instead of trying to figure out how I'm going to upload this document. And get it to you because, like I said, I'm driving right now in San Antonio. This is a motion, actually not a motion, this is an affidavit that I've prepared, and I've entitled the affidavit Defendant Michael Thomas Paul's Affidavit of Innocence, outlining the legal formation of the Community Emergency Response Team Garden Ridge Natural Bridge, UNA, as a volunteer fire department that he is the chief officer of, citing Texas Civil Practice Remedies Codes 78.151, 78.101, 418.171, Texas Government Code 416.101, Texas Penal Code 107, 41A. It reads as follows. Defendant Michael Thomas Paul, hereinafter referred to as Paul or defendant, is being prosecuted for impersonation of a public servant, Texas Penal Code 37.11. Texas Civil Practice and Remedies Annotated Statutes 78.051, 78.101, 614.101, Texas Government Code Annotated Statute 418.171, and Texas Penal Annotated Statute 1.07, 41A, which the Texas legislature has codified as the legal definitions of a volunteer fire department, volunteer firefighter, a public servant, and emergency response in the state of Texas. Now, these codes define volunteer firefighter as a member of a volunteer fire department, which is a non-profit entity that has both the Federal Internal Revenue Service 501c3 exemption and the Texas Comptroller's exemption from franchise and sales and use tax, and provides emergency response in the state. Paul, the elected Chief Executive Officer and President of the Community Emergency Response Team, CERT Garden Ridge Natural Bridge UNA, being an unincorporated nonprofit association of members, registered with the Comal County Clerk to provide volunteer fire services in Exhibit 1. CERT is a federally instituted organization created under the Department of Homeland Security and the Federal Emergency Management Administration, which trains citizens in the preparation and response to natural disasters, man-made events, and various other emergencies which may affect their areas. CERT is not a traditional fire department, but does train and respond to emergencies as the fire department would, and performs the same emergency services which may be necessary when the traditional governmental services may not be readily available in large-scale events or due to other restraints. Members receive training in basic fire suppression, emergency medical operations, search and rescue, and psychological supporting training for dealing with large-scale incidents. After completing the 20-hour classroom introductory course, members become certified with a FEMA G317 certificate issued by a governmental subdivision of the state. A city emergency management department, or a county fire marshal, but could also be the sheriff's department in a county or the police department of a municipality. Members continue their training by participating in live training sessions using various scenarios, simulating actual events, and position-specific training courses are offered online for certification in specialized areas, offered through FEMA, EMI, Emergency Management Institute. Paul is competent and, if asked to testify to the substance of the facts here stated, can and will under oath if requested by the court. Paul affirms this court having subject matter and in personam jurisdiction over him in this matter before the court. To qualify his status with this court, Paul makes this affidavit of facts and supporting law, including all exhibits, whether incorporated or attached, to be prima facie evidence put before the court. Subsection 1, facts. Number 1, In 2009, Paul's brother, Officer Scott Allen Paul, a deputy fire marshal in the Bexar County Fire Marshal's Office, asked him to join the Bexar County's Community Emergency Response Team, operated through the County Emergency Management Office. In providing emergency services and response to natural disasters, man-made events, other emergencies, and non-emergency public services and public service events in the community, such as parades and fiestas. Paul was tasked for his ability to set up and operate secure computer networking, which are used to register both volunteers and to register victims in a disaster, and sheltering citizens, and other IT capabilities such as logistics during an event. Paul volunteered so many man hours that he was recognized and awarded a participating partner award at the yearly banquet dinner presented by the Alamo Council of Governments and Texas Citizen Corps. Paul volunteered in 2011 to travel to Atascosa County to help tornado-ravaged homeowners clear debris from their homes that were still habitable. Paul was asked to participate in training exercises with the Bexar County Sheriff's SWAT team. At first, Paul was only to be the hostage in the training, but due to his being shot multiple times, not having PPE, personal protective equipment, it was agreed by those running the training that Paul should become opposition force, handed live simunitions with live firearms, and act as hostile shooter in response that was not usual CERT operations for volunteers. In 2012, the sheriff of Bexar County instructed his brother, Scott Paul, to have the defendant, Mr. Paul, surrender his CERT credentials, citing only Bexar County residents may hold membership in the county CERT team. Paul, who was also a volunteer at Bexar County ESR, Emergency Scene Rehab, continued as a volunteer with that organization, headed by Captain Bobby Briggs. Paul responded to active fires and provided support to the San Antonio firefighters. Rehab operations and carried a BCESR window pass in his vehicle. Exhibit is property seized by the San Antonio Police Department at the Evan Rhodes arrest. A photocopy is incorporated into this motion here. We're already into number 4. In July 2016, Paul's certification had expired. Paul applied for requesting permission to attend the classes held by the City of New Braunfels that offered him through the city's Office of Emergency Management. Paul's application was approved, and he attended the course, graduating with the class, and received his new FEMA G317 certification. Exhibit. Original certification is property seized by San Antonio Police Department at time of arrest and is held by that unit, or held by that department. Photo depicting Paul receiving his certification is incorporated here. Number 5. For 3 years, 2013 to 2016, Paul monitored the Comal County Fire Marshal's website, which stated a county CERT program would be instituted as soon as the county could find someone to fill the program administration position. Number 6. Paul, after receiving his recertification, applied for membership with the New Braunfels SAR, Search and Rescue Team, to provide services nationally and function separately from the CERT team. In the interview, Paul was asked that because he was wearing knee braces on both knees and because he has a wheelchair displayed on his license plate of his vehicle, would he be able to perform the required physical skills necessary to be a member of the search and rescue team. Paul stated he was a CERT member from 2009 through 2012 and had been deployed during disasters and non-emergency events in the community and was able to perform duties for those functions. But that if he was required to perform any activity more than 72 consecutive hours, he would not be able to do that due to his disability. Paul was informed by the city manager's office that his application was denied after a risk assessment performed by the city, that the city was not willing to accept the liability. Paul asked if he could be a regular CERT member, and he was told no, that the only residents in the city of New Braunfels can be members of the New Braunfels CERT team. So Paul went to the chief of the Bracken, number 7. Paul went to the chief of the Bracken Volunteer Fire Department, Donald Zip, and asked if he would request authorization from the County Emergency Management Coordinator, Mr. Kelly, to start a rural county CERT program. 3 months later, Chief Zip said the request was denied. So in May of 2017, Paul sent a request letter to the Comal County new sheriff, Mark Reynolds, who had just been elected as the sheriff of Comal County, stating that it's a requirement in the formation of a CERT organization. Approval must be provided by an elected official sworn into office. Debris on the roadway, huh? By oath. Paul was asked to be aligned with under his official authority because the CERT association he was creating would operate in the rural county and surrounding municipalities that was the sheriff's jurisdiction. Paul received a response from Sheriff Reynolds that said the association was welcome to the community and their association would be put on the sheriff's list. And should the association ever require assistance from the sheriff, he would be more than happy to help. His door was open. Exhibit, filed previously in this cause, I now incorporate here in this affidavit. Number 9. In May of 2017, the organizing committee forming the association met and agreed to file as a non-profit, unincorporated association, providing emergency services at Volunteer Fire Department. A DBA was filed with the Texas Secretary of State, along with the filing fee. A federal EIN was applied for and obtained, and issued, and registration with the Texas Secretary of State and Comptrollers, a public safety organization under Occupations Chapter 1803. The state-filed DBA was returned with the filing fee and a statement that only incorporated businesses were required to file at the state level. The association being required to file a business DBA with the county clerk did, and that is a matter of public record, Exhibits 1, 2, 3, and 4. Original certificates, Occupations 1803, was seized by San Antonio Airport Police at time of arrest, and scanned copy of the original and copies of the letter that accompanied it is incorporated here. Number 11. On June 3rd, 2017, the association officially began operating under the official bylaws drawn up by the organizing committee, Exhibit 7. Paul was elected CEO and president. A prerequisite for election as CEO is the person must be or was a public servant employed by a state, county, or municipality that has been verified by that governmental agency. Paul was verified by CAL FIRE's legal office, was employed by the state of California as a firefighter type 1, 1986 and 1987. Exhibits 5, 6. The association was formed as a nonprofit within the meaning and according to the Internal Revenue Code 501c3, and has been granted a certificate of exemption by the Internal Revenue Service, Exhibit 4. The association has been granted a state tax number by the Texas Comptroller, also listed as exempt, that is filed as Volunteer Fire Department, Exhibit 2. Subsection 2. Section 2. Law. The following state codes are presented in their current form as printed from the website cited. Texas Government Code, Statute 418-171, Qualifications for Rendering Aid. A person who holds a license, certificate, or other permit issued by a state or political subdivision of any state, evidencing the meeting of qualifications for professional, mechanical, or other skills, may render aid involving the skill in this state to meet an emergency or disaster. The state shall give due consideration to the license, certificate, or other permit. Original source, Texas Legislature Online. Texas Civil Practice and Remedies Code, Statute Number 78.051, Definitions. In this subchapter, 1. Fire emergency means an emergency response involving fire protection or prevention, rescue, emergency medical, or hazardous material response services. 2. Firefighter means an employee of a nonprofit fire department. 3. Governmental unit has the meaning assigned by Chapter 101. Number 4. Nonprofit fire department means a nonprofit organization that is A. Exempt from federal income tax, Section 501c of the Internal Revenue Code's 1986 28 U.S. Code Section 501A by being listed as an exempt organization in Section 501c4 of that code. B. Composed of member owners, and C. Organized to offer and provide fire protection, prevention, and inspection services, and emergency response services, including rescue, emergency medical, and hazardous material response services. Texas Public Law Statutes. Original source, Texas Legislature Online. Texas Penal Code, Section 1.07, Definitions. In this subchapter, 41, public servant means a person elected, selected, appointed, employed, or otherwise designated as one of the following, even if he is not yet qualified for office or assumed his duties. A. An officer, employee, or agent of government. B. A juror or grand juror, or C. An arbitrator, referee, or other person who is authorized by law to provide written agreement to hear or determine a cause or controversy, or D. An attorney at law or notary public when participating in the performance of a governmental function, or E. A candidate for nomination or election to public office, or F. A person who is performing a governmental function under a claim of right, although he is not legally qualified to do so. Cited off of lawserver.com, lawstate.texas, TX codes, Texas Penal Code. Texas Civil Practice and Remedies Code, 78.101, Definitions. In this subchapter, emergency response means a response involving fire protection or prevention, rescue, emergency medical, hazardous material response services. 2. Volunteer fire department means a nonprofit organization that is A. operated by its members, B. exempt from the state sales tax under section 151.310 tax code, or the state franchise tax under section 171.083 Texas code at the tax code. And C. is organized to provide an emergency response. C. Volunteer firefighter means a member of a volunteer fire department. Source cited: Texas Legislature Online, Public Laws. Conclusion. Based on the facts presented in the law stated, the court must take judicial notice that Paul is defined a public servant, Texas Penal Code Annotated Statute 1.0741A, an officer of government, citing Texas Civil Practice Remedies Code Annotated Statute 78.1013, a volunteer firefighter, a member of a volunteer fire department. Volunteer fire department defined by Texas Civil Practice Remedies Code Annotated Statute 78.1514, and Texas Civil Practice Remedies Code Annotated Statute 78.1012, both of which the volunteer fire department officer Paul is a member of, has been duly designated. While the name Community Emergency Response Team is recognized as an organization operated as a federal program of volunteers, the function and scope of emergency response activities runs parallel with those of the volunteer fire department, which is why the registered DBA name is Community Emergency Response Team and not blank 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 volunteer fire department. This makes Officer Paul a legitimate volunteer firefighter as a member of a nonprofit volunteer fire department who has standing to provide emergency response anywhere at any time that an emergency or disaster is unfolding. Certified by the City of New Braunfels Office of Emergency Management, issuance, and he's the holder of a FEMA G317 Community Emergency Response Team Responder Certificate, authorized under the Texas Government Code Annotated Statute 418171, Emergency Response in the state of Texas. Officer Paul received additional training at the San Antonio Fire Academy on McCullough Avenue for emergency medical first response, treating individuals requiring medical assessment and stabilization prior to transport to a medical facility for mass casualty events. It's supposed to say, wherefore premises considered, Paul prays for all that's asked for, and any further and other relief is authorized in equity and in law to Mr. Paul. This copy doesn't have that on it. I think that's an error on my part when I generated it. But it does have my signature, Michael Thomas Paul, Propria Persona Affiant, attorney in fact, address 9123 Easy Street, San Antonio, Texas, 78266, as required in signing of all court documents. Also has inclusion of certificate of service, where I hereby certify that a true and correct copy of the foregoing has been served to the prosecution. This, the 16th day of June 2020. Electronic signature of Michael Thomas Paul. And that's the affidavit. Now, included with the affidavit, because that's just 17 pages, is the rest of these documents. Now, these here are the prima facie evidence that what the affidavit states is true and correct. The first one's going to be the FEMA G317 certificate issued by the Office of Emergency Management, the City of New Braunfels, on August 12th, 13th, and 14th of 2016. Accompanying that document will be a printout from HCM03 on the cloud, people profile at the FEMA EMI tracking through governmental, the Fire Corps, which is the Volunteer Fire Services for the federal government. It's called Fire Corps. My printout includes my federal SID number and the courses that I've attended and the certificates that I've obtained. It includes contact information that has my SID number, my phone number, my address, the organizational information of CERT Garden Ridge Natural Bridge, and external learning information sources, certificates that were added into the website for tracking under the USFA, which is the U.S. Firemen's Association. Okay. So we have the contact sheet and the cover sheet. And then, of course, there's the NFPA Fire Corps online course, 1 day or less, rehab certificate for rehabbing firemen. Effective communications issued by EMI FEMA online, 1 day course. No expiration, completed June 2018. LS Fire Chief Authority under NFPA standards issued by the NFPA Fire Corps, which is the National Fire Prevention Association, which the Fire Corps, again, is a volunteer fire unit of the federal government. Runs alongside the Medical Corps for doctors and nurses, and the Community Emergency Response Team. That authorization for Fire Chief was obtained November 21st, 2018. Course Fire Dynamic Terminology, the International Association of Fire Chiefs, 1 day or less course online, November 24th, 2018. Now, along with that, because I haven't updated it yet, I have included a copy of the Department of Homeland Security certificate. In recognition of successful completion, you are the Help Until Help Arrives instructor-led training. This certificate is presented to Michael Paul the 30th day of June 2018. LS Fire Chief Authority under NFPA standards. Certificate of completion. Be it known, the certificate is presented to Michael Thomas Paul, by Joe Maruca, November 21st, 2018. NFPA Fire Corps. The certificate's completion may be known. The certificate has been presented to Michael Thomas Paul, FC 302, Fire Corps 302, providing rehab. Instructor Sarah Lee, issued November 21st, 2018. A Academy. This certificate has been awarded to Michael Paul for the completion of fire dynamics terminology. This is a 1.0-hour training, 1 day, International Association of Fire Chiefs. Signed by Mark Wright, instructor. Fire Corps. Certificate of completion. May it be known that this certificate is presented to Michael Paul for completion of FC 100, Introduction to Fire Corps. Again, Sarah Lee was the instructor. Date, February 11th, 2019. Now, there's some other ones that I have. Why they aren't with this packet here, I don't know. But I've got 2 copies of the packet of the documents, and one's for service to the state, and the other is the defendants. And in this one, I believe that those certificates in here. Of course, I could be wrong, and I am wrong. I guess I printed them on the printer and just inadvertently forgot to include them. There's 3 more certificates. One is fire investigation of premises for fire control devices, sprinkler alarms,